Welcome back. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. Thank you so much for staying with us. I told you, I was going to bring some good ones for you today. Special guests right here, right now. If you're driving around and you are looking for the home of your dreams and you know you're going to find the one that you want, well, you better listen in because we're going to give you some strategies and tactics right here that are going to help you win that deal today. We have Laura Barnett, one of the top 250 agents in all of Dallas-Fort Worth, over with REMAX DFW and Associates. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here and coming back.
Thank you.
You stood me one time and you actually decided to come back on the show. I'm shocked.
You're such good company.
I can tell. She said that with a frown. It was you really almost believe it. We also have Nina Bhanot, another fantastic agent who's actually, been in the business only 4 years, but she is making a splash. And I tell you what, this is the great thing about new agents that are doing it right. They've got new ideas. They've got innovative ideas that are going to help you win in this new market. If you have to know how to shift, and Nina knows how to do that, knows how to help you negotiate. That's why she's on this show. So Nina Bhanot with REMAX Premier,
yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I just mentioned 2 REMAX offices. We got DFW Associates over here with Laura Barnett, and where is that at? Northwest?
It is Capel.
It's in Capel.
Capel is the main office. Of course, they have 6 offices across the Metroplex.
Right.
But my office mainly focuses on Capel, Las Colinas areas.
Right. Great. Okay, Laura, and then Nina, you're at REMAX Premier, that means there's some similarities because there's a REMAX brand, but you're over in the Frisco, Plano area, correct?
Correct, yes.
Those are your markets.
Yeah.
So what are the similarities? I mean, are they kind of the same, or are they basically like different companies when you look at DFW and Associates versus a REMAX Premier brand? What's the differences?
I think there's a lot of similarities under the REMAX umbrella, and that's where both the companies have a lot of things that are the same. But because we work in different markets, I think there's different trends, different things we're seeing in terms of inventory and what's happening in each market, with me being in Frisco, Plano, and being in Capel.
So, Laura, in your market right now, you work in a lot of luxury homes as well, right?
I do, yes.
Which is over 500,000 is basically it. And I know you do a lot more than that, but I think the minimum mark is over $500,000 to be luxury home, I think.
I would say that
at
as
minimum,
well. Yes.
Right. And so in that market, you're not seeing as many multiple offers, right?
I'm not in the, let's say, over 850 range.
Okay.
But anything underneath that, possibly, yes.
Okay.
I'd probably say anything under 400,000, we're probably going to have an offer in a week.
Okay. All right.
If it's staged right and done right as the listing agent, and that's what we do as listing agents, we do a lot of preliminary work before we put that house on the market.
And I want to get to that in a second because I know there's a lot of people that think, you guys get this, right? They're like, well, it's such a hot market. Why do I need an agent, right? So we're going to answer that question here in a minute. But first, Nina, I want to kind of juxtapose that to your market. So your average price point's in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, isn't that right?
Yeah, I also do a lot kind of in the $500,000 range.
So tell us the differences in your market right now as far as where are you seeing the multiple offers and where aren't you?
I think when you're kind of in the 400,000 below, you're getting a lot of the multiple offers. Especially when anybody's in that 250, 300, those are just gone. They come on the market, they're gone within 6-12 hours. You've got multiple offers on it. I think being in Frisco and Plano, when you start to get into the 500s, then a lot of the buyers have options. They can go to the pre-owned market, but you tend to drive 10, 15 minutes. You hit a new build subdivision, and so they can also build for the same price. And so then it comes down to, well, if I'm going to pay around the same money, do I want a property that's a new build with all these new upgrades in a new subdivision, or do I want to go pre-owned? And sometimes, people do go pre-owned because you're in an established neighborhood and they want to be in a certain neighborhood or go and be zoned to a certain school.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network, talking with Laura Barnett of REMAX DFW and Associates and Nina Bhanot of REMAX Premier, talking about the low inventory market and kind of setting the stage for the discussion today. So what I took away from this, ladies, and this is panel style, so be willing to ask each other's questions. This is great. We're all talking here, and Matt's here too. So to ask questions. From what I get from what you said, I get that $400,000, whether you're in Capel or Frisco, Plano, or really anywhere in DFW, that's where you're seeing a lot of multiple offers, is below $400,000.
I would say yes on certain areas, but
Right.
usually you've got to have a good school system. I wouldn't say there's certain areas in the DFW Metroplex that I would say are probably not getting multiple offers in that price range.
Right, if it's not desirable. So yeah, I spoke
That's
too
right.
soon there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's okay.
And I think a lot of people just hear, oh, the market's so hot and we're getting multiple offers, but it still comes down to two basic things. Your home has to show well and has to be priced fairly. And if it's not showing well and it's not priced fairly, you're not going to get those multiple offers.
I agree.
So if you're a seller in this market, you're like, look, it's so hot, I don't need an agent. I'll sell it myself. What would you say to them?
I would say that, you're looking at an agent to guide you and help you price that property and see, how much can you push the market to get a good price. But you're also looking at that agent for all the knowledge to walk you through the whole process. Setting the price and putting it on the market is just one step. And I think you really understand the value of a realtor when something goes wrong. And when you look at all the moving parts in a real estate transaction, something inevitably is going to not go to plan. And that's where I think you lean on your realtor to understand the contract, understand what your rights are, and help guide you through that process so you have a successful closing and actually make it to close.
So, Laura, talking about this, staying on this subject, and what Nina was touching on there was you leveraging. As a seller, you got to be able to leverage the power you have right now because it's a seller's market. And if you don't know the questions to ask, and you don't know the pitfalls that can happen, and you don't know when, like you said, you don't appreciate your realtor because nothing's gone wrong yet. What is a good example of maybe a seller that when you're helping them that they wouldn't think of this, and you're putting them in a position to educate them to make sure that they're getting top dollar and they're selling at the right price and they're selling as quick based on their needs?
One of the things that we do is we stage the home first. And a lot of times when I go on a listing appointment, it is going to be 3 to 4 weeks before we put that house on the market. We walk through every room of that house. We write down the amenities that they have and what needs to be fixed. And that needs to be done before it goes on the market. And you do get emotional buyers. They're not, they get panicked when they think another buyer's coming in their house and looking at their house that they haven't even bought yet.
Right.
And so we thrive on getting that kind of emotion built up in a house. So if it's staged right and it looks perfect, we know we're going to get that. One example, last year I had a house that was on the market we put it on the market Friday. By the end of the day on Friday, we already had 4 offers. When we get that type of a multiple offer situation, what we do is we say, okay, we're waiting 3 days. And we alert every agent and we say, you get all your offers in by Sunday, late Sunday, we're presenting all the offers. And that is cut off. And we're fair to all the agents, but we open it up and make sure we get that. We want that multiple offer situation to come. The house was listed at $399. We took a $420 cash offer.
Wow.
We do like cash offers, but they don't come all the time. The next thing we look for is somebody who's putting a lot of money down. That is something that helps us. And I think, it's just because the appraisals get a little bit tighter and things like that. So those are certain things that we just try to do when we get those. The agent has to also do the spreadsheet and lay out all those multiple offers for the buyer. So they don't have to read every contract. We've got it laid out in a spreadsheet and we're going through it so they can just kind of sum it up and see it.
So you are, even in that example, of course, you're selling at the home for $20,000 over list. With a cash buyer, you don't have to worry as much about if the appraisal comes in or not, right? Which is one of probably the things that attracts you to that.
That's the main reason we do that. Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. So in a situation where there's not a cash offer on the table, Nina, what's some of the ways you help your sellers kind of navigate through what the best offer is, and what are you looking for, and how are you guiding them through that?
I think, it starts off, like Laura said, with this spreadsheet. A lot of times you get multiple offers and it's great to have, 7, 10 offers on a property. But I go through and I actually detail out what all the terms are. We have a 9-page contract. Price is just one blank on that contract. There's a lot of other terms on that contract. So we kind of go through all of them, weigh them all out. I explain to them, what's to their benefit, what's to the buyer's benefit. And we really try and analyze which would be the strongest contract and also offer the least amount of risk to the seller.
I had that's good. Another thing I see listing agents do, they do it with us. Now we are proactive. We actually now are starting to call behind our buyer's agents. We're calling the listing agent because we're just letting them know that the buyer's super pre-approved. They're same as cash pre-approval, and just instilling that confidence in the listing agent. And if the buyer's agents decided, because we'll usually talk to you, and if you guys tell us, hey, look, the only way we're getting this deal is no financing contingency, we're doing a double check and making sure everything is clean. It's super clean with the buyer, they're responsive and know what they have to do. But we're calling the listing agent. We had a lady right now, just a client though, that we called a few before the show, that called behind the buyer's agents to talk to the listing agent, and it really helps the buyer get that deal.
Yeah.
Andy, I do want to say what you said is so right on. As a listing agent, I really do look at the lender they're using. We know which lenders don't get the papers to closing on time. The way I know you is because you shined when we used Oak Mortgage. It was just incredible, and they just shined and came through. And
you were the listing agent on that deal.
I was. I thought, I want my buyers to use you. So I was so impressed. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And a lot of that matters because, the sellers are going to look to us for our advice and our knowledge. And so we are giving them advice to say, we've worked with this lender. They're really secure. We know it's going to close on time. Even with the buyer's agent, I will say I've worked with this buyer agent. They're really professional. It will be good in terms of negotiating with them as opposed to working with some other agents where you're like, if we get a phone call back, that would be great. If we get one back in 24 hours, So it really helps when you're trying to analyze those different offers and help your seller make a decision.
So guys, to sum up, as the seller, on the seller side of things, you can see it's not just like you're doing this on your own because you think it's a hot market. And I'm really speaking to the people that want to sell for sale by owner. And by the way, I just turned a for sale by owner, $600,000 for sale by owner over to one of my agents, because at the end of the day, all the offers out there and the products and the FSBO websites that are you pay a flat fee for, or a discount broker, the statistic has not changed in 10 years. 67% of you end up going with an agent. So what is the point of wasting all the time trying to do it on your own when you're going to use an agent anyway? What are you going to do when you get 8 offers? How are you going to evaluate what you need to do to make sure you protect yourself? That's what a proper real estate agent does. They're going to make sure they stage it properly, like Laura was talking about, that they set you up to detach yourself from that home, because it's a business transaction now. It is not your home anymore if you're selling it, and you got to figure that out. These agents can help you do it. If you want to talk to the right agent and make sure you maximize your leverage and sell right for the right price and sell in the time frame you need to sell in, call me, 469-319-0660, 469-319-0660, or text Realtor to that number, and I will get you in your market. Whatever your market is, one of these 2 top agents in DFW, we're going to take care of you. We'll make sure you're set up right. Coming up here on Tuttle Talk, we're going to get, Matt's been sitting quietly this whole segment.
Hey, you guys have great things to say. I'm learning.
There you go. You're learning. You're going to learn too. If you're a buyer, we're going to transition to you now. We're going to talk about Matt's really cool technique. Not a technique. It's a service. It's kind of it's a document, but it's a powerful document that could give you edge to win that next offer. So stay with us. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Here it is, last segment of the show. Having a lot of fun here today. I am your host, Andy Tuttle, branch manager at Oak Mortgage Group. Thank you so much for staying with us today. We are talking with Laura Barnett over at REMAX DFW and Associates, and Nina Bhanot over at REMAX Premier. Laura focuses in Capel and Las Colinas area, and we have Nina in the Frisco, Plano area. Different markets, interconnected, and some of the same challenges going on for sellers and buyers. Last segment, we talked about sellers. If you missed that segment, go to andytuttle.com. It will be there for you, and you're listening pleasure and learning. And this segment, we're going to talk and switch it over to the buyer's side. So, Laura, for a buyer, it's important that they know what a seller's looking for. And so that's what we kind of laid the groundwork last segment. What's a seller looking for? How can they maximize their leverage in this market? So by knowing what the sellers want, you can give it to them, and you need to give them what they want in this market, right?
Correct.
So what are some of the things that a buyer needs to make sure they know what a sellers want? How can buyers take advantage of that to make sure their offer gets won?
Well, number one, they have to be pre-approved. Nobody's going to look at that.
Love that you brought that up. I did not set her up for that. I did not tell her to say that.
They have to be pre-approved. We have to know that they can do. Credibility is key. So that letter is crucial, has to be there. Secondly, we want to make the offer really favorable. And if it really is a great property, granted, we're going to do the comps. I always tell my buyer, you're going to offer your walk-away price. And if you don't get it at that, you can live with yourself if you didn't get that, because we know when we're showing a property that's going to have multiple offers.
Okay, so let's stay with that real quick. So when you talk about that, I need to jump in here. When we say that the offer that you want to make sure you give your walk-away price. So quick story. Had a client of mine, referred him to one of our realtors. Some freakish, the buyer got pressured by her family to go with another realtor. This realtor, and this goes back to what you say about doing easy versus right, did not offer a walk-away price. They offered $20,000 under list, and they did not get the offer. Shocking, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about your walk-away price, what is different about that now than in a previous market, Nina?
I think that, first of all, it starts when I meet with my buyer, I educate them on the market we're in. And on the market we're in right now, you have to be able to give asking. We're not going to give anything less than asking, and technically you're over asking in multiple offers. So it starts with the education of the market we're in, and then talking to them and saying, you know what, you need to present an offer where if I came back to you and I tell my clients it's $1,000 over, you have no remorse. You put yourself out there the best that you could do, and if it's $1,000 over, it was out of your range, you are okay with that and you can live with that.
Okay, so before we move to the next segment, or the next piece of this, so I want you to understand, this is a seller's market. That means if you're listening to Laura and Nina, if the seller puts it on the market for $300,000, you are offering $300,000 or potentially more, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
You wanted to go.
If it's a multiple offer situation.
If it's a multiple offer situation, and that's what an agent is going to know and have a pulse on. Yes, a good agent.
And usually this listing agent has to tell us if it's a multiple offer situation.
Okay, so that's very good. So before you get all crazy and you make your offer, the buyer's agent, and of course these agents, Laura and Nina, both represent sellers and buyers. Okay, and so when they put their buyer hat on, they're going to call the listing agent and make sure find out if it's multiple offers or not. Right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And go ahead.
The first thing that I do is I call the listing agent and I say, tell me what's important to the sellers. And price is one thing, but the contract's made of so many different terms. So I had a situation where there was 7 contracts on a house. I was representing the buyer. We didn't have the highest price, but all the other terms that we had in our contract were really strong and favorable for the seller. They chose our contract. So sometimes you don't have to have the highest price, but if all of the other terms works for them, what these people really wanted is they wanted a lease back so they could still stay in the house after they had closed and sold the house, so they didn't have to move their kids during mid-school. My clients were okay doing that because they were on a month-to-month lease. That was huge for them. That was bigger than price, and so that was one of the things they took. Genius.
I mean, guys, this is the kind of stuff you got to know. She saved her buyers thousands of dollars just because she didn't go in and just assume it's all about price. It's about the seller's needs. These agents, since they represent sellers more than even buyers, they really get it. They really understand what a seller's needs are. That's why you have to deal with a great agent. If you need that agent, you want to talk to an agent, call me, 469-319-0660, or text the same number, 469-319-0660. I will get you connected. That's why I do this show. I want you working with the best. That's why I work with the best, because you got these decisions. These are big decisions. This is the biggest purchase you'll make in your life, right? 4 or 5 times in your home life, you buy a home and sell a home. That's on average. Guys, make it count. Okay, I want to touch on pre-approval, and then I want to touch on Matt's little edge here on Tuttle Talk. So I love this, and I think you girls haven't heard this either, so I'm excited. I want to see what you think. And Matt's sweating over there.
I got to make something up pretty good.
But seriously, pre-approvals, this is not pre-qualification. Listen to me. Thousands and thousands of homeowners are losing out on these offers because they got a pre-qual or an internet lender, or they got it with a lender, or they got a pre-approval with a lender that every agent in the world knows can't close your loan. And so it doesn't matter. If you have a paper that's not worth the ink that was printed on it, it doesn't matter. You've got to show your lender. You got to get with a good lender. Okay. One, if you don't know if you're dealing with a good lender, I have the article that I give out every week for free. It's the 4 questions you must ask every lender that you're interviewing. Every single one. The 4 questions you must ask. If you want to know those questions, email me, answers@andytuttle.com, or again, text or call the number 469-319-0660. I'll help you do that. But outside of that, after they've answered those 4 questions, you got to make sure you give them everything. You got to give them your income and your asset documentation. You can't just tell them what you make and then say, no, don't pull my credit, right, girls?
Correct.
It's not how it works. What are you going to think about that pre-approval that says that I didn't review anything?
And I think another important thing with a lender is I ask my buyers, is your lender available if you need to call them on a weekend? A lot of times we are showing properties on the weekend and we want to submit an offer and we need a pre-approval letter. Can you get in touch with your lender and will they get back to you in a timely manner?
Smart. You got to do these things. Okay, so that's that. So you got pre-approval. You got to make sure you're asking the seller and the listing agent, or having your agent ask the seller's agent, hey, what do you want? That's important. So you don't just go popping the highest price in there when that may not be the issue. And then, aside from some other things we'll talk about in a second, you can have a little bit of, what do you call that? The smoking gun, maybe? And that's what Matt has for us today. I'm really built this up, buddy. It better be good.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. What Andy's talking about, something we were talking about over the break, and it's called the escalation clause. It's not part of the standard TREC forms or anything that people have access to. So it is something that you want to add to the end of it. And we use an escalation clause in situations to where a buyer and or seller, want to have certainty that they're going to continue to work together throughout the negotiation process. What it does is it protects against multiple offer situations, or at least situations to where if you still want to accept additional offers as a seller, you can, or have people submit offers, you can actually still increase that price with the current buyer. It's kind of like whenever you go to eBay. That's the best way to explain it. Whenever I'm telling people what it does is, if you bid on an item on eBay, you may bid, say, $50 for the item, but really you're going to start at 10, and you're only going to get to 50 if somebody will keep bidding it up against you. It's this automatic price increase on the net offer of your buyer, and that's what an escalation clause does.
So have you heard of this before?
Yes.
Look, Laura doesn't like it. Laura, what don't you like? Do you not like it as a buyer's agent or as a listing agent?
I'm a little leery on both parts.
Okay.
On a seller's side, you better have a pre-approval letter that can show me you can do it.
Good. Right. Very important.
On a buyer's side, it's a little bit like writing a blank check.
Yeah, it kind of is. You definitely want to put a ceiling on it. You always want to put a ceiling on it, and you want to explain to the buyer whenever you get them into the escalation clause. You want to explain to them that it's possible that they'll have to bring additional cash to closing, because it may not appraise for as much. I have seen it, end up in situations to where they had to bring extra cash. So
can I tell you this, though, right now? And this is why, and hey, by the way, I love this. I love this discussion. You got to remember, it's like an ARM loan, an adjustable rate mortgage isn't right for every buyer. It's right for the right buyers. And every person I put an ARM loan in loves me. I'm in an ARM loan because I'm moving. I knew I was moving in 5 years. Beat the market. Great. It's not for everybody. Neither's the escalation contract. But I'll tell you what, I've had all the offers we got accepted over the weekend. They were all over list. Talked to all the listings agents. There were no escalation contracts, but they started over list. One of them was for a very good friend, Vaughn. $10,000 over list, $10,500 over list on a $220,000 purchase or whatever. There was 12 offers, and they barely beat out the one. And some other stuff that we did and the column behind helped. But, people are bidding over list anyway, and guess what's written in that contract that we had to make sure the buyers understand? If it doesn't appraise, you're paying the difference.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you got to make sure they're approved. Laura, you got another you're looking at me like that.
I've been in the business a long time. I'm very skeptical, but by the same token, your chances are good. The appraisers are very conservative, so you don't have to usually worry. But I will tell you, as a listing agent, I'm there when the appraiser's there. He makes that appointment through me. It doesn't go through a showing service. It doesn't go through anything else. We make sure he gets copies of the contract. We're honest and we're forthright. We're not, of course, we don't do anything illegal, but we make sure he knows the area and he's educated. Lenders can't really talk to the appraisers, but realtors can. Right. And so we do. And we try to make sure everything goes according to plan. And again, that's working with the good, not with the easy.
That's right. Don't go with your I say it all the time. Don't work with your part-time, aunt from Minnesota that says, "Yeah, doing real estate in Texas." And a lot of final words, Nina.
And a lot of times, when I'm the listing agent too, and we've gotten multiple offers, I will send that first page, cross out the name, send first page of every multiple offer to the appraiser, so that he knows and understands we had 7 people who were willing to give us above asking price. Just giving him the information so that he has it.
Guys, I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, only the top agents do this. You are armed. If you're listening to this show, I know, because I have interviewed probably over the last 2 years, over 600, 700 agents. And that's a lot of agents. And I'm telling you, only the top do this. So you're armed. If you know more than the agent and you bring this to them and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's a good idea." If you don't have a buyer's rep, leave. If you have a second listing, go, run. Seriously, you've got to deal with the best. If you want to talk to Laura or Nina, please give me a call, 469-319-0660. I want you to have a good conversation. This is such an important decision in your life. We want to help you to make sure you win in this market this summer. So call me, 469-319-0660. I'm going to get you pre-approved. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to save you some money. Got to call me, text me, and we'll get you up with a good agent. Matt, I love the escalation thing. I think it's right for the right buyer.
It can be.
It can be, my man.
I'm gonna take some of Laura's advice here and think about it, but we'll talk about it next time I'm on the show.
All right, guys. Well, that's on the next show because we are overtime. Dan is giving me the eye. Our production director, he's glaring at me. I can feel it through the window. Goodness gracious. Don't forget, Seasons 52, we're giving away for Mother's Day. If you were thoughtless, now you can be thoughtful. Call us again, 469-319-0660, or go to andytuttle.com and reach out to us, and we'll put you in the drawing for two $52 gift certificates so you can take out your wife, take out your parents for Mother's Day. It's all good. It's all on Season 52 at North Park. So enjoy that and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much to all my guests, the expert contributors, and the entire family here at 660 AM The Answer. And thank you for listening to Tuttle Talk, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Tuttle Talk on 660 AM. You can reach Andy at 469-319-0660. That's 469-319-0660. Or email him at answers@andytuttle.com. Don't forget to become a fan of his show by going to facebook.com/Tuttle Group. You can also catch previous shows by going to andytuttle.com.